Babies all good?
Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Advisory Board meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. If you haven't silenced your cell phones, please do so. I want to welcome everybody listening online to the meeting. First item is the roll call. Joanne Messina, present. Amy Milstead,
Present.
Jimmy Zulke,
Present.
Kyle Jackson,
Present.
Thomas Griffin,
Present.
Tasha Mora,
Present.
Jeanette Rash,
Present.
and James Spears is absent today, so we do have a quorum. The next item, C, approval of minutes of our July 30th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes, Jeanette Rash.
I'll second the motion, Amy Milstead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We accept the minutes as written. Next item is public comment. If anybody in the audience wishes to make a public comment, please grab a form at the desk and fill it out and bring it to me. Right now, we only have one, and it's Jeanette Rash.
Thank you, board and members, today. I just want to, as everyone knows, my name is Jeanette Rash, and I own Fast Tow and Best Tow in downtown Houston. My family's in fourth generation. As you know, we just got another flood again, and I want to address the governor's waives regulations to allow out-of-state tow trucks. In the governor's response, he says that the reason that he was doing it is because of damage and danger for those in the storm's path. I would just like to inform the governor that 11,000 tow operators that are out on our roadways in Texas are there first. This has already been done. We were in the height of the storm. My son and my grandson were out at 3 o'clock in the morning, as y'all saw probably, I-45 in North Main, moving vehicles that were there so that the roadways would be cleared, along with all the other towers. We stepped up to the plate in the worst possible scenario. We done our job, and we do our job well, because we get our city moving in every situation that comes before us. What is very discouraging is, in Texas, we are very, very small businesses. There are very few businesses that would be considered large business that's in the towing industry. Very few companies have over 50 employees. Most are actually even micro businesses that have 6 or less employees. So they're very, very small. A lot of them are involved in volunteer fire departments within their community, and they do put their lives at risk every day for their communities that they live in. I think it would be prudent for the mayor to, for the governor, sorry, wrong place, for the governor to really encourage the insurance companies to use local towing companies. These companies have lost a lot of them lost their business, lost their houses. My daughter, whose husband drives a tow truck's house flooded. I had one employee flooded, and one of my best friends lost everything on the San Jacinto River. And that's just a few of the stories. all of the towers are impacted. All of their businesses are impacted. And during a storm and right after a storm, they really don't have a lot of business that's their everyday normal business. They need tows. They need towing business. And they're awesome people. Sometimes we deal here with all the bad guys, try to regulate the bad guys, and we forget about the 99.9% of the towers that are just awesome and step up to the plate, like I said, in the most dangerous situation possible. So again, I would like to advise the governor and inform the governor that the danger work is done, and it's been done by these local towers. And I would appreciate it if he would advise the insurance companies that their first priority should be these local towing companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeanette. I don't have any more public comments, so we'll get into the agenda and our staff reports. First up is licensing.
Good morning, board members. My name is Laura Hernandez with the Licensing Division. I provided the towing and vehicle storage facility numbers through the third quarter. The fourth quarter numbers weren't completed by the time this report was due. So it doesn't differ too much from the last report that you all received at the last board meeting. I'm not sure if you all have any questions or anything regarding this report today.
Any questions? Thank you. That was easy.
Yes.
Next up, customer service.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Tuan Nguyen. I'm one of the managers for this program. So since the last time we met, stats has been roughly a little bit more decrease in June and July and August, and that's roughly been the same numbers we've been getting. A lot of our staff is still calling in. So a lot of our customers are still calling about mainly their license status information, renewals, and website navigation. Besides this statistics report, I do have an update. Customer service actually, I'm not sure if I covered this in that last meeting. We did move over here in our North Campus location. We're now on the second floor. So if y'all need a tour or anything of our operations, I'll be more happy to show y'all. The other thing is we did update our email process. We now use web forms, which is a way to send emails through our website. And it actually will collect information from customers that we actually need. And then we'll also still allow them to do everything, send the requests, and also do their attachments. But the most important thing is it really helps customers by having them not have to spell out the email address. We actually were getting reports where customers were misspelling the email address. And now, as long as they collect towing or VSF from the drop-down menu, it'll go straight through.
Very good.
And other than that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be more happy to answer them.
So the towing complaints will get through quicker. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any questions, board? Thank you very much. Next up is enforcement, our favorite topic.
Advisory board members, good morning. I'm Michael Shirk. I'm one of the prosecutors with the Enforcement Division. In terms of outreach, we had a great opportunity the week of September 9th of this year. I was asked to speak to the International Association of Special Investigative Units, which is a consortium of special investigative units, which are people embedded, employed by, and doing investigations for insurance companies as well as private investigators and law enforcement agencies, at their convention on the topic of flipping, which of course you know is that practice by which a vehicle is taken from an incident management tow directly to a body shop only through the obtaining of authorization through fraud or deception upon the vehicle owner, or relatedly, the way a vehicle from an incident management tow is taken out of a vehicle storage facility and taken to a body shop, again through the use of an authorization by the vehicle owner or operator, which is obtained by fraud or deceit. What's been interesting in these flipping cases is that overwhelmingly the tow truck company or the vehicle storage facility is closely allied, has a shared ownership or financial interest with the unregulated body shop. And apparently this problem is not just limited to East Texas, that is Harris County, Montgomery County, Galveston County, and Houston, but is springing up in other places of the country. On my panel was a detective from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office who are seeing cases like this, as well as a special investigative unit from Santa Monica with Allstate, where they're seeing this. And this is exciting because we get a chance to share information. So it was nice in terms of fulfilling our mission statement to let the rest of the country, if not internationally, know that TDLR is really using not just best practices, but next practices to see burgeoning practices of illegality and share some of our investigative techniques. With respect to the cases, I've given some-
Michael, I have a question.
Of course.
On the flipping. When you have a suspected flipping case, are y'all investigating the ownership of the body shop and the BSF and the tow company at the
Yes,
time?
that's part of the investigator's responsibilities to do a Secretary of State search, as well as a DBA search, as well as any other information that can come to the attention of the investigator through public records to show that there is a common ownership or shared financial interest. So say, for instance, the
Michael,
tow company.
Mary Winston, TDLR. We're getting IMs. Just speak into the mic.
Okay,
So
I'm
everyone
sorry.
else can get this wonderful
So
information.
the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, so if you have a flipping case like that and you do see that they're related, that's a violation on the company. If there's no relation, are you prosecuting any drivers for this, licensed tow operators?
Yes, of course. And one reason for that is it's not just the interrelatedness of financial interest between the businesses, which is prompting the flipping, but it's also we know that body shops are paying bounty to tow truck drivers to bring vehicles directly, to get an authorization through the use of deceit, and then bring the vehicle to the body shop rather than the vehicle storage facility. So, yeah, we do have, in fact, I've got one next week in Houston against the driver.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just moving on to some of the illustrative cases that we did since your last meeting. I've put them there on page 1 and 2. The first case is Dakota Suzanne Sutton. This was a default order issued by the executive director on August of 2019, assessing a $2,000 administrative penalty for towing without a towing operator's license. Again, this is an operator, and towing without a license is a Class F, so that's a $2,000 penalty. In cases like this, if we see a recurrence of the event, we will go for a cease and desist, but the penalty probably will discourage that kind of behavior in the future. The next case is Keith McVeigh, DBA Juniors Towing and Recovery. This is a flipping case in which an agreed order was issued by the executive director, again on August 14th, assessing an administrative penalty of $4,100 and imposing a 1-year suspension to be probated during that 1 year. The conditions of probation were a refund to the vehicle owner's insurance company of $79.50, and also the towing company is obligated to ensure that all of its drivers take additional continuing education in the area of laws and rules regulating the conduct of towing operators, which is a recognized module in the curriculum for continuing education for tow truck operators. This continuing education would be in addition to and supplemental to any continuing education required of tow truck drivers to renew or obtain basic licensure. In this case, the towing company had engaged in conduct which lacked honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness. Of course, that's the major tool that we use for doing flipping.
I have a question on this, too.
Yes.
Did this company have a relationship with the body shop?
I cannot tell you that now. I don't know.
And do you know what the $79.50 is?
That was probably the cost, the amount of money in excess of what would have been charged had the vehicle stayed at the vehicle storage facility. So this was a case where it was transferred, and maybe there was a transfer fee or something like that.
Okay.
Michael, I have a question.
Yes.
Whenever you find out that someone is engaged in body shop flipping, do you audit the company's records, or do you just go after the one case you know about?
We just go after that one case.
Reason being is, my concern, a bigger concern, is the fact that people that don't have insurance cannot afford to get their cars back.
Absolutely.
And they really don't know who to reach out to, because it is a very complicated situation, as you know, because look how hard it's been for y'all to untangle this web, because there are a lot of people who lose their cars that have no insurance. I don't understand, if you find out a company is involved in this practice, that's what they're doing, I think that an audit would be in play. And that's just because I've been in business for 55 years, and I know that's a way for the wake-up call to the industry to go out when you go after a company to that degree.
That, yeah, anything that can help us in our prosecutions or send a stronger message that this conduct will not be tolerated. In terms of people knowing who to go to, I would say that one of the benefits of the work we've been doing in this arena is the close-knit relationship we've developed with law enforcement. So whether it's Specialist Leck from Montgomery County, Harris County Sheriff's Office, Houston Police Department, I think the word is getting out of where to go to, especially because there's been a lot of publicity around this topic. So hopefully people know where to go to, and with law enforcement active in these cases also, they're often the ones that make the referrals to us. But I do think a audit in some cases would be useful in the prosecution.
Well, again, like with this particular case, that's like nothing for them.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Well, if they're
seriously.
making their living doing this, I mean,
That's,
if you're assuming
yeah, if you,
that's their
if
practice.
that's their practice, this is like, whatever.
Yeah, it usually is an embedded and systematic
Yes,
mode of
it is.
operation.
It is.
It's not opportunistic fraud, it's what I call organized fraud, in that they don't see a chance to rip somebody off and do it, they've got a
But
model.
you don't know that because y'all haven't been auditing, like she said, to see. You're taking one case and investigating it, so you don't know if it's systematic or not, do you?
Yes, because the what we call the red flags of the modus operandi of the way flipping occurs has a very specific model, and we see it repeated over and over and over again, so that these companies are not making up the steps. They're using...
Just because it's a standard operation doesn't mean it's that company's procedure and customary practice, is what I'm saying. Because you may have individual drivers out there moving from company to company doing this,
Right.
but you haven't audited that to see. You assume it's
Well, I assume it's
standard.
illegal.
Or it sounded like you assumed that if they did it once, they're doing it all the time.
I think I used that observation. It does not affect my prosecutorial decisions, though. I mean, if illegal conduct occurs that involves the standard model of flip, I will prosecute it, and it doesn't matter
Right,
to
I'm
me if
just,
it's a
I'm
first.
looking at the difference
Yeah.
between an individual licensee doing it as opposed to a company.
Right.
That's what I'm getting
Right.
at, not
Right.
whether it's illegal or not. We all agree it is.
Right.
But if you're assuming because one licensed individual does it, that every licensed individual in that company is doing it.
No, I never assume that.
Okay, I thought that's what you said, so
No,
that's good.
I go under the assumption that if a company is using the standard model that we've seen repeated over and over and over again, including the same paperwork, that this is not something that it's a one-off
And
conduct.
Again, you said company.
Okay, so individual.
I'm
If I-
just
if
trying
I
to
see a-
designate, a
Okay.
long time ago, we added the individual, we started prosecuting the individual operators.
Right.
And I just want to keep that designation, not to assume it's always the company.
No,
It
no,
could be a
it's not.
one-off that the operator's doing it.
That's right, and that's why we prosecute. If the conduct is too attenuated from the history of the business, we will go after the tow truck operator. And this is especially seen, this is seen where there is not that relationship between the tow truck company and the vehicle storage facility and the towing company, where you don't have that, what is sometimes called the trifecta, where there's a common core of operators and financial interest among the three of them. Because as I said, sometimes the tow truck drivers do get bounties from some of the body shops, and they're on social media. I'm
A
sure
lot of
you've all-
times they do,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yes, we agree.
And the
And-
owner has no idea.
So of
Yeah.
course I go after the operator when I don't think that the company's involved.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
I have one
I'm
more
sorry.
question.
Go ahead.
Michael.
Go ahead.
Jimmy Zelke, going one step further, do you have a history of what happens to the body shops as far as criminal sanctions, fraud? Any ideas what they get or
Well, we don't regulate body shops.
I know, but just in your investigation,
don't.
talking to other law enforcement. Just
No, I
curious.
don't.
Okay.
So it sounds like nobody's taking that up, and there's probably no way to do that. In your seminars and your people you're working with, the body shops are kind of left out.
Well, no, not absolutely. I know, and maybe Sergeant Griffin can speak more to this, but some localities are beginning to pass regulations regulating the conduct of body shops. And I know, yeah, so I think that there is that activity taking place.
Did you have any comment on that?
I do. The City of Houston issues licenses to body shops, and if they are found to be working in collusion with tow companies and tow operators, we do have the power to take their license away from them. And if they open up at another location, we can cite them for operating without a license. But
Interesting.
we are
Is
very
that
limited
fairly
in-
new? Is that
No,
pretty
it's-
new, or you've had that?
I've been in auto dealers for 8 years, and the license predates my arriving there, so I don't know how long it is, but
I
I'm
didn't
sure
know
it's
that.
it's a very old.
I didn't know that. So are y'all actively taking some licenses away on that, or?
We have, but most of the flipping that occurs from Houston tow companies to body shops that are in Harris County.
Outside of the city?
Correct. We did work on one tow company that did it to their unlicensed body shop in the city. We revoked their tow contract back in March or April, I believe.
Okay, interesting.
And I don't know, but that Deputy Sheriff Specialist Roy Leck, if Montgomery County is working on regulation of body shops.
And Mary Winston again, TDLR, and I'm sorry, Deputy. We're kind of veering away from the enforcement report, and
Just
which you've
giving
done a
information.
wonderful job in doing. And there's some very good information that we are learning. I hated to even interrupt, but if we want to add this further discussion, and we've clarified that we have no jurisdiction over body shops, and thank you, Mr. Griffin, Sergeant Griffin, you've covered that for us to a degree. But if we want to pick that up, and I think there's been a request for some sort of audit, that's something that we can discuss, Jeanette, and we'll take that up, make sure we can formulate that and see exactly what you want, and we can take that offline to get that. But
Thank you,
I
Mary.
don't want to veer too much.
Okay.
Any other questions on this
I just,
one?
one more thing, I
thing.
just, my heartburn is the things that people who aren't in towing and storage, i.e. body shops, has had such a gruesome impact, that sometimes is what causes what I said earlier in public session, that incident management towers. So that's my interest, to try to help, and I know y'all's resources are very limited. So it just, to me, would make sense that the auditing would be a good tool.
We
Is that
can,
okay?
Mary Winston again, and
Okay.
Joanne, if I may, we can figure that out
Yeah.
to kind of better formulate, Jeanette, what you want to do,
Okay.
or what you're asking,
Okay.
and what we can do and what we're
Right.
limited by our
Let's
statute.
move on to, anything else on the
Right.
Keith McVeigh case? Let's move on to Keith, the other Keith.
Keith, go Keith.
Okay, so Keith McVeigh has agreed order, administrative penalty of $1,500 and a refund to the vehicle owner of $320, which I know for sure is the tow and VSF fees combined. Again, there were false statements made regarding the release of her vehicle from storage. This one involves telling the vehicle owner that the vehicle storage facility could not be opened because of flooding, when our investigation showed that all the roads there were open. So it delayed the release of the vehicle. Okay, the next prosecution is Randall Sharp. This is not one that I handle because I don't do criminal history investigations, but I did want to draw to your attention that oftentimes we do revoke by operation of law the licenses of tow and vehicle storage facilities once we learn they've been incarcerated for a felony in a penitentiary of the state. This is, we give them notice that we're revoking, we give them an opportunity for a hearing if they wish. Mr. Sharp was a guest at correctional building, so he didn't ask for a hearing. But this is one way that we seek to protect the public in the work that we do. And finally, United Tows LLC. This was 2 cases. An agreed order was issued in the amount of $2,700 for failing to accept payment by credit card and failing to provide legally required information on a tow ticket. And this oftentimes is a problem where credit cards are not accepted with the line that we only accept cash for a drop. And of course, that's not what the law says. Some of the key statistics are below. I think I'll use Ms. Hernandez's model and just ask you if you have any questions about these numbers.
Jeanette, you usually have a question on this. Nothing?
I'm letting Michael off today. I'm not going there, Michael.
Anybody else have a question on the statistics? Okay.
Then the last page, it just shows you a snapshot of which cases are what violations are our top 10 violations. Towing without authority, of course, is always at the top of the list. That is towing a vehicle without legal authorization for just about any reason except for the lack of signs, which we have in a separate classification. It's interesting that the criminal history revocations of licenses because of incarceration or arrest has moved to the second one for this reporting period. I don't think that's a trend we're going to see. It might have been just a release of a lot of information by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice recently. But I can't explain why that is at number 2. I don't think it's because more criminal conduct is occurring within this cohort.
They changed their system, Michael, is what it is, and they have a more thorough list of violations now.
Because I do agree with you, Ms. Rash, that 99.9% of all operators are awesome.
Thank you.
It seems to me the list has changed a great deal in the last
It
year.
has. Yes.
Well, yes.
It's
I mean, if you
not,
look at-
without authority, illegal tow has not been at the top. Maybe it was last meeting, but it just seemed, I didn't take the time to go back and compare it a year ago, but it seems like it's changed quite a bit.
And certainly number 4 is something that's rising in prominence, lack of honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness. You know, it's interesting that our licensees, both in the vehicle storage and the tow program, are bound by a duty of honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness, which seems pretty basic, but we are asking that tow operators and tow companies and VSF employees abide by that very basic rule.
This was one we were concerned about when they passed it, that it would
Yeah.
come up like that.
Go up and up.
Yeah. It's a
Failure to take-
catch-all type thing.
Well, yeah, it's a broad rule, yes. You can see the rest of the numbers are pretty static from where they were in the past. Failure to send notice is at the top of this. This would include first and second notice, as well as both the mailing of the first and second notices, as well as the publication of the notices. This obviously is a very important right, so that people know where their vehicles are and can get them.
I wonder why it's more common now.
I think one reason, similar to TDI, is that the Department of Transportation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. DMV is reporting on the paperwork. That's right.
Yes.
Well, last time we talked, they were doing a lot of reports, but they weren't turning into violations, I thought. But it looks like as if they are now.
Ms. Messina, I will tell you from my own desk, when I see these coming through from DMV, I'm issuing a lot of warnings for different
So you must be getting a
reasons.
lot.
You're getting a lot. It's the government working in a coordinated fashion. If there are any questions about any other statistics, I'll be happy to answer them, and that's the report for this reporting period. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, education.
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
My name is John Schildwachter, and today I represent the Education Examination Division. This portion of the advisory board is going to be heartburn-free. So hopefully, what I have is hopefully vanilla compared to
you.
enforcement. You have your numbers there in front of you. I won't read them all to you, but if you have any questions, I or my cohort behind me will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I do have a question, and
Okay.
you may not be able to answer it. It may
Okay.
have to go back to Michael. So listen, Michael, one of the penalties was for someone to have an additional 4 hours of continuing education. Is that just another 4-hour CE course? Is that something you track? Or,
I don't think they would.
I'm sorry, it hit me when he came up.
You know, when we find a violation and we decide that we're going to suspend with a period of probation, we don't look at that as so much as a penalty as much as a remedial period. So it is additional to the hours required for renewal or initial licensure.
So the same course, they have to
That's-
take 2?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I just want to clarify
But you
that.
know, I mean, when they go in for initial or renewal, they don't have to necessarily take that Texas laws. They could do, the curriculum has a number of different modules.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt your
that's
beautiful
quite all right.
presentation there. Anybody have questions on the education stats?
No, I'd like to bring it up at the end of the agenda for
Next meeting, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Regulatory program management. Todd and Tasha. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Todd Forrester with the Regulatory Program Management Division. We have updated our website. That update is complete. Everything should be up there. We have instituted a new industry compliance section. It has essentially all the information that was in the compliance manual on our website, broken down into little subsections. The search function of it, I really like. Josh with our web management team did a great job of setting that up. You'll see things on there that are on there, looks like multiple times, and they are. Because if you call it something else, the idea is to make it as easy for people to find as they can. The website's going to allow us to track via web analytics, which Josh gave us access to show how many people are visiting each site. We're also now in Microsoft Dynamics, so we record every email we get and every email we receive and the content of it so that we can know what questions are coming up more often than not. We're working closely with customer service. Twan was here earlier.
Is that what Twan was talking about?
Yes.
The web form?
Yes, yeah, web forms are another great thing, which we're looking at instituting too, working with licensing on setting some of those up so it gets right to the people who need it right away instead of having to go through the customer service process. Yeah, we're really looking at streamlining everything as well as we can.
Have you had any time to see it working yet, or is it too new to?
A little bit, not much. It hadn't even been a month yet that it's been up. We do have data on it, but not enough to really make a point. We have had some comments, though, some feedback that it has helped, and it is good. So we're hoping to make it a little easier to get the information that the industry needs whenever they need it. We also have a separate consumer section. That separate consumer section does essentially the same thing, breaks it down, how to file for a tow hearing, what to do if your vehicle's towed, everything like that, so we can help the citizens as well.
Very good. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I hope everybody on the board goes out and checks it out soon.
Good morning. I'm Natasha Poland, and I'm going to talk to you about our outreach from the RPM section for the towing and storage program. We were in attendance at the tow show in Dallas. We saw some of you. We did provide a training as well. It was for the industry to ask questions and, just get some one-on-one time with us. And they brought their forms and different things for us to look over. We helped them with a lot of stuff at the booth as well. We also spoke at the Southwest Tow Operators Legislative Update on Sunday, last day, and that gave the industry a chance to ask their questions as far as the law and rules go or one-off situations that they had. That's all I have. Oh, Todd.
It was exhausting.
I want to thank y'all for being there because I know it's grueling to stand there all day taking all those questions. And for those of you who haven't attended, please come next year if you can.
Bring
Um,
some sack lunch.
Yes, there's a lot of great things to see, a lot of pretty trucks and a lot of nice people. And Todd and Tasha do a great job manning that booth and doing the training. And people look, I send so many people to them. I'm like, go, they're asking me questions. Go talk to Todd and Tasha, go meet them. Here's your chance to meet them and it is grueling for them, I know, because they're just bombarded. So we really appreciate that. I hope you got a couple of days off for that.
Of
I have
course.
a question.
Yes.
Tom. I know this is a little jump ahead, but since your outreach, signs again, like 5 of them is the top again. Can we send out like a notice and listserv, like, because y'all have the sign, y'all have
correct.
posted now.
It-
So people can go and look.
Right, and so, one of the great things, I was talking to Tila, she's our web person, one of our web people, our public speaker, public affairs. She monitors Facebook for us, and she says that the towing industry uses that platform. I'm going to start, and we're going to start adding content to that and the listserv as well. It's just taking me a little bit, but we've been busy with other stuff. But absolutely, I can look at that and do that.
Might be a way to get
Yeah.
at least 1 or 2 off.
Right, and anything like that you have, let us know,
Okay.
because we're always looking for new ways to educate.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Anybody else? Wait, anybody else?
No.
Thank you
you.
very much. Field operations. Field inspections, excuse me.
It's really her thing.
Good morning, Board. My name is Julianne Crocker. I'm representing Field Inspections this morning.
Good morning.
I do have a couple of updates from our report that was provided to you. First, we did hire a new regional manager. We now have 4 regions in our division. And Juan Munoz, I want to say congratulations to him as our new regional manager. He'll be in the central region, which covers central Texas. And then Angela Sanders is also our newest liaison who will help with our training endeavors. And then we were able to get the final numbers for August, so we ended the year with 1,287 inspections for the fiscal year. Any questions?
Any questions?
No?
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Next up, Executive Office.
Good morning, Carla James, TDLR. As I say at every meeting, thank you for your service, your high-paid job. Texans appreciate you very much. I know you don't hear that very often. I'm going to talk to you about the sunset process real quickly. Our agency's about to embark on the sunset process. It's been well over a decade since we went through this, so it's our turn. They're going to be looking at, well, for those of you who don't know what Sunset is, Sunset's an agency that looks at other state agencies every 12 years to determine whether or not they're still needed, and if so, are there any changes that need to be made. So it's our turn, and they're going to be with us from October to May of this next year. And we are looking forward to that. This will give us an opportunity to look at 26 of our programs that were received prior to 2016. As you know, we've been taking on quite a few programs since then. So this sunset process is going to look at some of our older programs that we've had. And they'll make recommendations, as I said, for deregulation, consolidation, whatever they feel is necessary to keep the programs up and running. And they'll provide that information in a report to the legislature. And then during the 87th session, the legislature will write bills to determine what will happen with the agency based upon that sunset report. And we'll, of course, be providing constant updates on that as we go through. So we're a ways off, but we're starting now. And there'll be some sunset hearings, public sunset hearings, that people will be invited to go to. Sunset should also be reaching out to many of you to ask about us. So this is very much like our strategic planning process, where we ask lots of information from our licensees and Texans, and Sunset will be doing the same thing. So if you hear from them, and those of you who are watching online, that will be your opportunity to comment on the agency. I don't have a lot of updates other than that. As normal, we are eyeball deep in everything, with new programs coming in, implementing motor fuels as we speak, and motorcycle will be coming to us next year from DPS, the Motorcycle Training and Safety Program. And I don't want to say that's all because they're giant, but I think that's all for now.
Carla, on the Sunset hearings, do they hold those throughout the state or only in Austin?
Only in Austin.
Only in Austin.
Yeah.
So
And
those
they'll be
listening,
broadcast.
If you want to attend, plan a trip to Austin to do that.
And
So-
you can follow it on Sunset's website.
And they
that-
they take written comments as well. So
Yeah.
if you can't go to Austin, you can do written comments
Right.
as well.
So their website is sunset.texas.gov.
Okay.
It's a pretty comprehensive process. We are slated to do it again the following session for all those programs that have come to us from 2016 on.
Oh,
So
you have
it's
it
going to be
2
so much
sessions
fun,
in a
we're going
row.
to do it twice.
And you don't have to worry about it because
I do not.
I want to congratulate Carla on her retirement, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Enjoy, and thank you for
Thank you.
everything.
I've enjoyed working with y'all and not getting
No
towed while I work
sunset.
here.
You're going to have your own sunset, right?
I will probably be active as a Texan
Very
and make
good.
comments that I can do from a Texan versus a state employee's perspective.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions for executive? All right, we're flying right through. We've got one more item on our agenda. Item F, discussion and possible recommendation regarding proposed amendments to an existing rule of Chapter 85.
Good morning, Elizabeth Salinas, Strip Matter, Assistant General Counsel.
Good morning.
Thank you all for coming this morning. I think this is probably the big deal that everybody's been waiting for. As you're all are aware, during last board's meeting, we presented the draft of the changes to Texas Administrative Code 85.722, which was changes that we made pursuant to HB 1140 during this past legislative session, and they generally relate to the increase in impound and storage fees for vehicle storage facilities, as well as the elimination of the environmental fee. Much talked about environmental fee. During the last meeting, you all approved them as written to be presented to the Texas Register for publication and open for public comment, which we did do. Public comment was open from August 16th through September 16th, and during that 30-day time frame, we received one comment. Since there's only one, I will go ahead and read the comment in its entirety. It says, "Thank you for the opportunity to respond to the amendments of 16 Texas Administrative Code 85.722. We have reviewed and proposed changes and are in agreement with the revisions regarding storage fees. However, we would like the industry to also be cognizant of overbilling from towing companies and tow yards. We often receive inflated charges for things such as gate fees, admin fees, and even the tow bill itself. Again, we appreciate you allowing us to provide feedback. Respectfully, Elise Orr, Compliance Analyst with Canal Insurance Company, based out of Greenville, South Carolina." We appreciate Ms. Orr taking the time to comment on the proposed rule. I would note, however, that the portion of the comments relating to overbilling is not germane to the discussion of the draft of the rule itself, and that we cannot address it during this time. The industry, however, or the board, however, can decide if they would like to take that up in a future board meeting and place that on the agenda. With that being said, those are all the comments that we received. Would you like to make a motion on the rules?
Before we make a motion, would you please explain what we're doing to the people listening?
Yes, absolutely.
So, thank you.
So the
Yeah,
process
just-
now is that the board can decide whether it would like to make a motion to pass.
I'm sorry, not that, the rule itself.
Oh, the rule itself?
Yes,
of course.
yes, just in layman's terms, please.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're making amendments to increase the impound and storage fees for vehicle storage facilities, and we are doing that based on a formulation that was provided to us by the state legislature based on the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI. That CPI looks at data from the preceding year. So what we did was we took data from 2018, calculated what the storage fees would be based on the Consumer Price Index, and so what we get is an adjustment during 2019 to the maximum amount that a VSF may charge for a daily storage fee is as follows. A vehicle that is 25 feet or less in length would now be $20.64. A vehicle that exceeds 25 feet in length would be $36.11.
For the daily storage.
Of the daily storage.
Yes.
We applied the same formula to the impound fee, which of course is an optional fee should the VSF choose to levy it on the consumer. The biennial adjustment for that will go from $20 to $20.64. And then obviously what we did was we then struck the environmental hazard fee, which has been done away with by the Texas legislature. So 85.7.
This is not effective immediately.
No. What the bill requires us to do is, let me just back up and explain the process. So what we have done is we have drafted the rule. It has gone through you all one time. We have opened it for public comment. We have come back to let you know what those public comments are. If you choose to make a motion to adopt the proposed rule as written, you can then choose to send it on to the full commission for adoption. The next commission meeting is October 1. Now, the mandate in HB 1140 is that if we are going to raise these fees pursuant to the formula, we have to do a publication by November 1 on TDLR's website. If we do not hit those deadlines, these fees do not go into effect, and we have to wait until the next calculation is due, right? So if this does not pass either today, or if it does not pass at the commission level, then we are back at square one and we have to go back to redrafting. Okay, so that's where we stand. So if we take this to the commission on October 1 and they agree with it and have no further questions, then we would move forward as a department to implementation and publication on November 1, but the fees, the increased fees do not actually go into effect until, I believe it's January 1. Is that right, Todd?
Yes.
January 1 of 2020.
Okay, thank you very much for
Yes.
going through that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, I think
Would you
we're
like
ready
to make a motion?
for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve
Okay,
submitted.
do we have a second?
I'll second. Amy Milstead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
we're good to go to the commission
We
then,
will place it
October
on the
1.
commission agenda on October 1.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay. The next item is recommendations for agenda items for the next board meeting.
Madam Chair, I'd like for us to look at education, because we haven't done that in a long time, and I know that we need to update a lot. The other thing is Sharp 2 now will be required for all law enforcement and is already required for all fire, and I think that we need to consider that since we're stakeholders and partners at incident management scene, so I think that we need to look at that as well. So that's what I would suggest for the next
Is that the
agenda.
only topic you want to look at in education, or is,
No, I
are
think
there
we need- I think-
specifically other things like
I think we need to
work
look at-
group discussion maybe on education?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Anybody else have any topics?
Yes,
Thomas?
Madam Chair, I'd like to propose, as we've seen through these past few meetings, that the Harris County area is sort of the epicenter of the flipping epidemic. And in discussions with some of my coworkers, and we have a pretty good method of revoking tow contracts, not at a local level. However, it goes beyond just what we cover. And so I was hoping that we could possibly discuss placing a burden on the individual tow operator, that when he's at the scene of a crash and the motorist doesn't know where to take his vehicle or her vehicle, and if the tow operator says, well, you probably ought to take it to a body shop, I would, in our discussions, we thought that it would be a good idea if the tow operator were sort of required to say that by law they're supposed to go to a VSF, however you can take it wherever you want to, just to give the motorist the knowledge to make the right decision. We had a case like that earlier this year where this young lady was involved in an accident, had never been in one before, asked the tow operator where to take it. He said, well, I know of this great body shop, and you can imagine what the consequences were. So if the tow operator is required to say, well, if you don't know where it's supposed to go, it should go to a VSF. However, you can take it wherever you want. I think it would be good, excuse me, a good idea to maybe add
Okay.
that to the administrative code somehow.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have things? Jeanette, you mentioned flipping audits.
Yes, that would really fall within what
I think
Tom
that's
is
different.
talking
I think it's kind of a different topic.
It's kind of associated to each other, as Michael said, it's associated. So I don't know if we would,
Okay, I'm going to list it separately here, and we
Okay.
can decide how that needs to be
Okay.
addressed on the
Okay.
agenda, because those may be, both
because
be
it's the
work group
department.
items.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right. So when do we need to meet next? Do we have any more deadlines coming up? We don't have anything really pending.
We don't.
Mary Winston, TDLR, you're correct, Madam Chair. Nothing really pending. You handle the most important thing because, as Elizabeth said, there are deadlines that if we don't hit that, then we have to start over. But we do have a couple of topics that we can look into as per requests. And as always, if there's other information that you want, or anybody, advisory.boards@tdlr.texas.gov, so we can see about getting them on as an agenda item. We can, because we don't have any tight deadlines currently, we can poll the board on a will at a later date, but in plenty of time to plan for the next meeting. And we do need time to kind of work on the things, Jeanette, that you are interested in knowing.
So it's the end of September.
Do you want to set something now, Joanne, or do you want Anna to just
Well, I
give
just
you
want
a
to kind of
call?
get something in mind while
okay.
we're all together.
Okay.
I'm thinking, would mid-November be enough time to get in before the holidays maybe and get started on some of this work?
Well, if we get started on the work, I don't know that we would have the work done. Particularly, are we 100% sure of the two different types of requests for information we have to have, right? And I'm thinking possibly after the holiday season would be a
I was
little
thinking about
better.
appointing work groups
Oh, okay.
to work with you on them, on the topics.
Now, let me see what work groups we have currently up for. Let's see, Anna's pulling it up. So currently, we have rule review work group and the environmental hazard fee, which I think we're done with that for now. If
The
this
last one we had was our penalty matrix
Yeah, we have
work
left
group.
that.
penalty matrix work group,
That is that will go to the commission on
Okay.
October 1. I need to, the penalty matrix work group met, and the results of their work goes to the commission October 1 to be approved, so.
yes, okay. So, in the meantime, that is your authority to appoint a
Okay,
work group.
let's go away and think about it.
And-
I don't want everybody listening to me think, okay?
Yeah, well, and then we will let everybody know, once Madam Chair has thought about it, who she has voluntold to be on the work group. We can do that.
Okay, all right then. So we don't have a date. We'll think on that. And I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
As usual, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.